my name is Shanee Candace McHenry-Reese. Um, I am a daughter of Louise and Wilbert. I'm from the Bronx in New York City. I was born in 1974. As I will just out myself with my
My
age.
social
That's right.
security. I'm kidding.
I know, right? Oh gosh, let me stop. But yeah, I'm just a black woman from the Bronx, and just trying to do right in the world. That's it. Trying to make my contributions to just to leave this earth better than how I found it.
Nice.
That's who I am.
So as talking about contributions, I want to go back to like your childhood and growing up. And I know you were a dancer because that's how I met you in college. So I want to know, you're a very great dancer. You're talented. And I want to know, how did that journey start for
Thank
you?
you.
You're welcome. And I wanted to know, like, how did you get in the arts? Like, what was your child like? What was it that brought you, Shanee, and got you got to learn more about yourself? Like, what were those things about you?
Well, I guess we start with the dance journey. I did the ballet thing, when I was 5. I guess little girl, they do that.
Yeah.
And then when I entered it was 6th grade, my mother and I actually we joined this dance school called Mind Builders. It's in the Bronx, and we both took tap lessons. We were in the same class. Me and
Really?
my mother.
That's so
Yes.
dope.
Yes.
I want to do that with my
Yeah.
daughter.
I'm telling you, and we had a lot of fun. And I'll
Nice.
never forget our teacher. Her name was Wilhelmina Taylor,
All right.
and she was an awesome dancer. And I continued on throughout junior high school. In high school, I took a break. But then when I entered Lehman College, I picked up again and I started dancing with the crew there. That's how
Tammy.
we met.
That's how we met.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I just found myself, immersed into the arts once again. And it was like a release for me. It was fun. It was not just a workout. It was just something to do with people of have similar interests, and it felt good to put together these artistic productions just to show the world how much fun we had dancing.
We sure did.
So yeah, and just dancing, it feels freeing to me. That's really where it lies. It just feels very freeing. It feels good to be on stage. And it's like a high.
It sure is.
Right? Like a good high,
it is.
But that's what dancing means to me, self-expression and just community and, all of that makes me feel good.
Did your mom dance prior to taking you to tap class? Was that like, she was just like, let's go, let me take you to this? Or was she also a dancer?
No, she wasn't a dancer. I don't know how it came about. We just,
maybe it was something she wanted to do.
Yeah, I guess so. Something that she did want to do. And we knew that the school was up the block and around the corner. So she was just like, come on, let's go. And I wish I could pull out some pictures from our performance because it was cute. Because I'm sure I have some, but I think she probably has all of those in the photo albums. But I'm telling you, it was a great mother-daughter activity.
That is.
We had a really good time. So you know what? Yes, you and your daughter should go because you are.
Because I started taking tap. I took tap in junior high school for like 2 months. It was free, and then they gave us free tap shoes and everything. And then now older, I went through my knee issues and like I stopped dancing. And then after I gave birth, I was like, I want to go back to dancing in a way where it's not going to be so strenuous. And I was like, you know what? And then I started watching like tap stuff on Instagram, and I'm like, that maybe I should go back into tap. And I started following Marshall Davis Jr. And then turns out my husband, like I just told the comment to my husband, like what I wanted to do. Then for Christmas, he gave me a gift, and it was Alvin Ailey classes with Marshall, who he didn't know I was following. Like he had no idea I was following this man. on Instagram, and then it turns out that I was gonna end up taking classes with him.
Oh my goodness. See, you
So it
guys
was
are
like
like
a
this, man.
well, it
Oh,
was
that's
like it was
awesome.
such an amazing gift. And then I took classes with him, and then the pandemic happened. He did some Zoom, but we connected. We even interviewed him on the podcast, and
Mhm,
he's been a great teacher. And like now I practice at home here and there. I kind of stopped for a couple of months, but
mhm,
it is, and I was like, I want to go back to that and then bring my daughter, because she would watch me
mhm.
rehearse. Like at home, I would practice tapping, and she would be like, tapping too, like with her feet.
Oh, oh,
Yeah.
cute. Yeah, yeah.
So
Oh, okay.
it's nice that you share that story, because it's like, wow, that is beautiful.
Mhm, mhm, mhm. Yes.
So now I want to dive in. I know that when we were in college and we graduated, you took on to be a police officer. So I wanted to
Mhm.
know, how did that journey begin? What made you want to get involved in the NYPD? Like how did that start for you?
It was, and you know something, and I think about this to this very day, and I'm going to always think
Yeah.
about this. It was a chance meeting with, not really a chance meeting, with someone that was in my major,
Okay.
that shared with me some information about what he did for a living. And it's great that I attended, Lehman, because I
Mhm.
would have never met him. I would have never became a cop. So
Mm.
his name is Felix Hernandez. And we were in the cafeteria one day, and he
Okay.
shared with me that he was a police cadet.
Okay.
And I'm like, what is that? And he goes, oh, well, it's an internship program with the police department. He goes, you make your own schedule, you work when you want to work, and
Mm.
of course that was very, that sounded great, to
Right?
me. I'm like, really? And you make your own schedule for real? Because what were we doing when we were working at Wendy's or whatever the case,
Exactly.
stuff like that, some job like that was miserable, that we didn't like. And we
Mhm.
have to your schooling had to be around your work schedule and stuff like that. So I was like, you
Exactly.
know what, I'm gonna try that.
Mhm.
That sounds like a good deal. And I never really thought about being a cop, but I was like, you know what? At least I can try it out to see if I liked it. And so that was in 1996, I believe, 95,
Oh,
96.
okay.
And I joined up, I applied, I got accepted, and I became a police cadet in July of 1996. And then you go through like your mini training, like boot camp,
Yeah,
in
yeah,
like a
yeah.
mini academy
The
for like a month
academy,
or
yeah.
so. It's
Okay.
like a mini academy. So yeah, for like a month
Oh,
or
so
so
it's
you go.
different. The cadet is different than if you would just apply to be a police officer.
Yes, it's just for college
Ah,
students, and
gotcha. Okay.
basically your administrative staff, your support staff. Like
Okay.
if you walk into the precinct, and the people that take the reports or answer the phone or something like that, because
Okay.
you're still a civilian. You're not
Mm,
an actual sworn in, police officer, but
gotcha.
the thing is that they wanted college educated people, so you had to have, I think, at least 60 college credits or 2 years of college at that particular point to enter the program. And that had way beyond
Yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And so I completed the program, the 4 weeks.
What was the
And
boot
then,
camp like? The
oh, it
mini
was
boot
like,
camp.
it's like a mini police academy. So basically, what it is that you have your academic studies, you have law, you have police science, and you have social science,
Okay.
which is kind of like, I don't know,
Like
they
sociology?
call it behavioral psychology. Yeah, like
Oh, okay.
sociology, how to, relate to people and stuff like that. Of
Mhm.
course, with mixed results, as we can get into
Oh,
that
we're
later.
gonna
But
get into that, yeah.
yeah, but you
Who
have
was the
that in
teacher?
some
I'm kidding.
courses. Exactly, right. But
Yeah, yeah,
we'll
yeah. Go
delve
ahead.
deeper into that.
Yeah.
And so you have those, and then you have gym, which gym is 2.5 hours a day.
Oh, damn.
So
Talk about a workout.
yeah, so yeah, it's, you run and then do calisthenics, and then you have to do like an agility test,
Okay.
to get in, and then like at the end, just to graduate.
Mhm.
And but yeah, I wasn't quite prepared for all of that, but all the dancing
I was gonna
that
say, wait, the dancing.
Well, dancing that I did in Lehman helped. It
Especially
helped me.
Tammy boot camp.
Exactly, because you remember how we used to warm up and she used to be like, stay and hold all these
Yep,
positions and your
yep.
leg up and push-ups and this and that. So that definitely did help, but I still didn't know what I was in for,
Of
but it
course.
was a good experience. And then once I graduated from the little mini academy, I was assigned to a police service area, a housing precinct.
Okay.
Right, because there are 9 of them throughout the city, plus a couple of satellites. So I was assigned to PSA 8, and that was in Throgs Neck projects
Oh, okay.
in the Bronx. And I worked in the domestic violence office with
Oh,
the cops.
wow.
And so I helped input the reports, and you do some filing, answer phone, stuff like that. And then we did details as well, because I was still a cadet. I was in the cadet
So
program,
it's
so
like a
like
minute,
parades
yeah.
and stuff. Yeah,
Okay.
like you go out, you help, you stand around. If you ever see them, they wear gray pants. Do they wear gray pants now? They wear the blue pants now, but they have like little light blue shirts, like
Okay.
the people that write the tickets.
Oh, okay. Yes,
Right,
I've
right.
seen those.
That that's
Yeah.
that's the uniform of a
And they
cadet.
don't
So
carry a gun.
no, you're a
Yeah, you're
civilian. Yeah, you're
civilian.
totally
So okay,
it's a
I know now
civilian.
what you're talking about. Okay.
So, yeah, we did that, and we took part in special programs. I think the following summer, after I graduated from college,
Yeah.
a group of us were assigned to St. John's University. It was like a camp, and we were
Okay.
kind of like the counselor at the camp, like monitoring the kids and helping them out. So we did that. That's the type of things that you do as a cadet. And then if you ever heard of National Night Out, it's
No.
like a crime prevention. It's like a crime prevention fair. What community affairs comes out. They give crime, prevention tips to the community. They may have food and drink and music and things like that. And people could just come and talk, to the cops, and, just form some sort of dialogue.
Bond with like the community, and that's nice.
Yeah, exactly. And so we will go help out with stuff like that. And so basically I graduated in 1997 from college, did the St. John's thing that summer. And then I worked full time at, a couple of the cadet offices, and I was just waiting to go into the next police academy class, which was that December.
Okay. And
Mm-hmm.
because you were a cadet, you were able to, you didn't have to do, and you were already doing the steps that you needed to go into the academy, right?
Right. So basically they hire from our list first. You still have to take an exam.
Okay.
But it's not necessarily a different test. It's like you're grouped differently. It's the same
Because you were
questions.
already kind of in.
Right, exactly. So they'll pull from our list first, and then they'll go to the open competitive list, which is the list that, everyone, whoever, was eligible to take the exam and signed up and took it, that, they're on that. And so, yeah, that's how it happened. And I went in December 1997, and I graduated in the end of June of 1998. And I was assigned to 46th precinct in the Bronx.
And that was very near where you lived, right? No? Was it close to where you live, or
It
no?
wasn't too far from where I lived. Yeah, it wasn't too far from where I lived. It was just like on the other side of the Bronx, it wasn't really far, but it was an experience, I'll tell you
How
that
was
much.
that? How was that experience when you started? You're a rookie
Wow.
cop, a black woman at that. Tell us about your experience as being a black woman. First of all, a woman, and then you're black in the police force. Like, what was that like for you? And yeah, and then I'll dig deeper.
It's there are not a lot of us. I'll say that. So oftentimes, I guess throughout my entire career, you would kind of look out, amongst your coworkers, and maybe there'll be another black woman, or maybe maybe a handful of other women of various races, ethnicities, what have you. So that was definitely something that I know that even the police academy, I think there were 3 women in our company, and then the rest were men. And it's about, I guess, like 30 people per company, like per class. That's what a company is, and that's kind of how it was, at the precinct. And although it was, very interesting to learn theory while you're in class, you learn about law and laws of arrest and all of that stuff. Now you have to go out and apply all of that in the real world, practical application. And it's basically baptism by fire. You show up. I had all my things in like a big garbage bag, like my uniforms and my gum belt, and I have it over my shoulder, and I'm walking in there. And one of my mother's coworkers made a joke, because my mother was an EMT for almost 30 years.
Oh, okay.
And so she's another, she served the city as well. And at that point, I think she told one of her coworkers where they assigned me, and then her coworker said, "Oh no, you dropped her off there. You should go back there and pick her up and take her back home."
Wait. Oh my God.
They were like,
no,
"Oh my
don't
God,
leave
not
her
there.
Not there." So what's the rep? I have no idea what the rep of that place is. What's the rep? What were you getting into?
Listen, child, they were on the episode of Cops back in the day.
Wow, that's like my precinct. I lived by the Dirty 30. Well, it was called the Dirty 30.
30. Okay, and I worked there too as well. We'll get to that too. I worked there as well too. But yeah, it was the 4-6 had a reputation. It's called the Alamo.
The what? Alamo?
And the Alamo.
Oh, Alamo.
Yeah,
okay.
like the last name. Yeah, the Alamo. Yeah,
Texas.
And yes, and it had like a nickname, like the most dangerous square mile in America. It was just because it was a small precinct, but it was very busy. It was very, very busy. So I'm there, and when you start, you work later hours. Started at 5:30 in the afternoon, and we worked until 2:00 in the morning. And for the most part, it was on foot. So we out there on foot.
What is it? Working the beat? That's what they call it, right? Working the beat.
Walking the beat.
Walking the beat.
Foot post. Walking the foot post. That's what it's called, a foot post, and they meant that. So you come in, you get assigned to your training group, your training squad. You have a sergeant, and they give you a briefing about what's going on in the precinct and things like that. And you get a map. They give you a map, and they say, "This is your post number 1." And I remember my usual posts were special post 183 from the Grand Concourse to Jerome Avenue. And if anyone that lives on the west side of the Bronx and the Fordham area and all of that stuff, they know all about 183. Okay. So that was where me and whoever I'm working with, we walking up and down that street all day, all night. And we saw a lot of things. And it was different from, the books in class and stuff.
Of
but
course,
you did your best.
Real life.
You tried to learn, what your job was. Oh, forgive my knee. My knee just went right into the... Here it is again. You try to learn your job. Of course, definitely maintain your level of integrity.
Yeah.
And that's not something I ever wavered on, because that was important to me, and I made sure that I did right by, whomever I was interacting with throughout my entire career, because I ended up doing almost 23 years in the police. Oh, but yeah, it all began there on 183 between Concourse and Jerome. And then eventually, once the next group of new people comes out, then there's a specific platoon. There's 3. You have the day people, then you have like 4 to 12, and then you have the midnight people. So I went to midnights. I did that for about 3 years, and then my study sector was like your study area that you're responsible for.
Mm-hmm.
The same area that I had when I had my foot post. It was like the same 183 area. I did work for the cadet corps once again as now a full police officer. I did recruiting for them for a little bit.
Oh,
That
okay.
was like a temporary assignment. That
Yeah,
was kind of
yeah,
like a
yeah.
break. You first get assigned to a precinct when you get out of police academy, but then after some years or whatever, if you want to do something else, you just apply, like you're applying to another job. So that was one of the jobs I did apply to, and they picked me up, and I taught law for one police academy class. And that I enjoyed. Actually, I think it was good for me
Mm-hmm.
to now be on the other side of things rather than the student, but be the teacher.
Teacher,
It
because you learn
deepened my
more too.
understanding. Yeah, because you have to have a level of understanding in order to explain it to a group of other people and have them
Mm-hmm.
pass their exams.
Mm-hmm.
In my class, I was proud of them. They did very well on each of their the law portion of their exams. They did
Nice.
very well. Yeah. Yeah.
That's
So
great. We know about this whole police brutality thing going on. First, I want to know, how did that affect you being on the force, especially when you first started? Because this is something that's always existed. It's not like it's new. How did that affect you, and how did you deal with it?
so yes, of course it affected me. It affected us all. But one thing I will have to say, me personally, I didn't take part in anything like that. I didn't see things like that
Okay.
because I wouldn't tolerate that stuff around me, you know, because right is right, and regardless of where you come from, what your background is, you
Mm-hmm.
know what you're supposed to do, and it's
Mm-hmm.
not just following the letter of the law, following the departmental procedures, but just being a decent human being. Now that's not to say that police brutality does not exist, because it does exist. We all know
Mm-hmm.
that,
Mm-hmm.
and where I work was just a small little piece of the
Of
larger pie, you know.
exactly.
And there were some high profile cases that were in my precinct that happened before I got there, but
Mm-hmm.
so yeah, it does exist, but me, no, didn't take part in anything
And
like that.
you never got to experience anything, or
No, no,
oh,
no.
that's great.
Okay. One thing I did not like how drug addicts were treated.
Okay.
They were more instead of, offering some sort of remedy help for them to kick their addiction, they were criminalized. That stuff
Gotcha.
never sat
They
well
didn't
with
deal
me.
with the mental health of it. They
And
more dealt
no,
with the action,
right,
right?
and yeah, yeah, it wasn't as if, and then they went to, as far as I know, when they go, before the judge, maybe they may have an option of going into, a program or not, whatever
Yeah.
the case is. But I just didn't like the fact that it was just criminalized. And these people, yeah, they did violate the law. They may have been in possession of drugs or whatever the case is, but you look at them and you're like, man, this person needs some help. you
Yeah.
know
Mm-hmm.
they don't need to be sitting in this cell, because once they get out, what's going to happen is
They're
going
gonna
to
go
go
back.
back to sell drugs, and they're going to be right back in here with us. And it's like, it's the same people you see over and over again, same faces.
Mm.
They don't go far.
Mm.
That always made me sad. you know
Okay.
and another thing that was disturbing to me was just the internal stuff within the police department, meaning there never seemed to be enough people working, you know
Okay.
and that will affect the quality
Of
of the
course.
service that we provide. So, a lot of people that I hear, civilians, people that I know, friends, family, whatever, they say, oh, they called the cops or something, and they ended up waiting for 2 hours and stuff like that. And me knowing what I know, it's like, when you call the cops, we can't just ignore, You can't, you have to go. It's assigned to you, to your unit. So you have to go, and you have to give a disposition. They clock you when you're on your way, they clock you when you get there. And even now there's GPS, back then there wasn't, but now there is. The time, and they've always got the time that you spent there. You have to record all the reports that you prepared, if you prepared any action, if you make an arrest, everything is documented. And so sometimes you do get a bad rap, for a lot of things. And sometimes, there are reasons for that. But that thing, we don't ignore calls, but we may have to pick up 3 and 4 at one time. Guess what? We got to go to the priorities first.
So then the people who call first are waiting longer because you might have something that's more of an emergency.
Yeah. Right. If you lost your wallet and you call the cops,
versus somebody who got
we're
shot.
going to go. Guess what? We're going to go to the person that got shot. And you may have to wait a couple of hours, So that's kind of how that works. It's all about priorities, not just, who calls first. So sometimes it will give the impression that, I called and they never came,
Gotcha.
No, that's not really what happened. But so, it always seemed that there weren't enough people working, and now I guess I don't know if that was a city budget thing. They don't hire enough people, but then it just stressed out the people that actually came into work as well.
And that's across the board, not everywhere. Only police, everywhere.
But it's just hard, and then the hours, it's like if you lock someone up and it's towards the end of your day, guess what, you have to stay
until and then that's taken care of,
and then you still got to come to work, your next tour, just like anything else. And it's a lot. And then just listening to the things that happen to people, it does take a toll on you mentally. It does. But it was an experience. It's just a lot.
It's a lot to take on. What have you ever been in a situation where either a partner or you saw something that was against what you believe in, but it was something that you had to do because of the job? Were you ever in a situation where you had to be in conflict with that and you had to make a decision, like, am I going to go with what I believe in, or am I going to go because this is, what I have to do because I'm a cop?
Well, yeah. Sometimes, people, the people, let's say people who assault one another, but from an outsider standpoint, someone may say, oh, well, this person started it, so why are you locking up the person that retaliated? It's not always that simple. You have to look at the, the violations of the law, and if it comes to a point where you now have to lock up both of them because either maybe you can't tell who started it, or whatever action that other person did is to the level where you have to bring them before, a judge, you got to send them downtown and stuff. That's never something that you would like to do. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And that would happen oftentimes, because we can all sit and talk and be like, oh, well, I know why you did what you did and this and that and blah, blah, blah. But again, you have to enforce the law impartially. You can't just say, all right, I'm going to let you go. So yeah, it's a lot of that sometimes.
Okay.
And it's not great that you would have to do that, but it is what it is, and I don't know. There's so many things that you have to do when your job is to enforce the law.
Okay.
Like giving people tickets and stuff like that, the tickets dig in your pockets. If you get a moving violation, it can cost you hundreds of dollars when you go to traffic court. And that's definitely up there. That's a big one where, we have to go out there and do
And
that.
give that, yeah.
We have to give out those tickets. We have to give out that ticket when you run the red light or you run the stop sign. Because you know what? If we don't, the next time you run a light or a stop sign, you may run right into a group of children crossing the street.
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah.
You know, so yeah, I never like digging in people's pockets like that.
Yeah.
And because listen, I feel you, I understand, but
I
again,
understand where you're coming from.
it's part of the job. It's part of the job. So, and I guess that question that you asked, like about what are the things that I was forced to do that kind of didn't align with what I necessarily believe.
Or if you've
It's
ever
just,
been.
it's just so many things. It's
There's a lot.
it's more of a how we had to run the police department, because eventually I did become a supervisor. And a lot of times, you have to put, you assign your cops and you have to put them out there, and knowing that they didn't eat, yet they work, that you have to hold them back. It's time for them to go home, and then you got to hold them for, for overtime. Or that there's not a lot of cars out there. Maybe there's people that are out sick, or maybe there's a bunch of vacations that just so happen to occur this one particular week, and you just have to slam people with work. And like you said, that's like that across the board in a lot of different jobs and areas, and and that's understood. But this is a hard job. You understand what I'm saying? It's a hard job mentally. It's a hard job physically. You know, so that I didn't like, and I didn't like having to get people to do things that they just did not want to do, or they didn't have the energy to do, or they just didn't have the capacity to do, because they were just tired. But we have to go out there, we have to answer these jobs, we have to put the cars out, we have to put the units out, that I did not necessarily like. Because I believe in taking care of the cops as far as how they're feeling mentally and physically, because if they're good, then they'll be able to serve the community well. Because when we ignore that, because they do ignore that a lot in the police department, that's why you have these people that go out there and do the things that they're not supposed to do. You do have a set of people that they just don't know right from wrong, and they do fall through the cracks and eventually get onto the police department. Then you have people who just burnt out and just, you understand what I'm saying?
They don't have a release.
I'm not talking about like brutality or anything like that, but just like a mistaken procedure and things like that. They may have cut corners on a report or something like that, and it's just because they're just tired, and burnt out, and maybe need to do something different, rather than being on patrol. But the good thing is that recently, in the last few years, the department they're trying to take it more seriously, and they do have a whole section where the people that work there, their primary function is to look after the mental health and the physical well-being of the police officers, because you do have to understand that if they're not good, they're not going to give good service to the public.
That's
obviously.
Just any human being. If you're not good, you're not going to be good to anyone.
Exactly.
You're not going to be good to yourself. If you're not good to you, and you're not going to be good to anyone. You know what I mean?
No, you're not. You're not.
And it's
a
tough job. You're seeing a lot. You're dealing with a lot. You're tired. You're fatigued. How did you deal with your mental health and also taking care of you? Like, what were some things that you had to do or learn to do so that you can be able to live and not take this home and allow it to consume you, and also to keep who you are too, to remain true to yourself?
Well, I try to also, have interests outside of work and have friends, outside of work, maintain those relationships, the ones that I had before I became a police officer, like the relationship that you and I have. And, making new friends that maybe are not in the department, and then those that I have met that do work for the police department, and we hit it off. I try to maintain those relationships as well, and try to do things outside of that, not to be all consumed, because a lot of people are all consumed by it. And then once they retire, they have a problem trying to navigate, society in the real world, because they don't go to work every day.
Yeah.
I've seen that happen a lot. And so, yeah, that's what I did to try to maintain, my mental health. And as far as my physical health, we still dance with Tammy, remember, right? We still did those.
And you took up pole classes too, I remember.
Yeah, I did. Oh my God, it's so much fun. I had to stop. Let me see. What was it? 2017. I transferred to another unit at work.
Okay.
And
was that when you were a sergeant already?
Yeah. I got I got promoted to a sergeant in 2005.
So you got promoted really fast.
Yeah, like that was like, oh my God. But then my 8th year,
like and that's how you maintained sergeant, and you retired as a sergeant.
Yeah, I was a sergeant, and
what was that
the
like?
end of 20. That was being a supervisor. That's something different, because now, now you're in,
you have more responsibility.
So much responsibility. I think the sergeant has probably more responsibility than any rank in the police department. More than a police officer, and even more than the higher ups, because the higher ups still have people underneath them to do their bidding and to do the work for them. They may make the big decisions, but they're not actually there, putting all of that work in. Exactly. So a sergeant is a difficult position to be in, but it was rewarding. And I have to say that I never regretted becoming a supervisor. My worst day as a sergeant was better than my best day as a cop. I have to say that.
Wow.
And I always tell, cops always ask me,
why is that?
Because it's just, although you do have more responsibility, you get to dictate how you want things to go. You understand what I'm saying? You see something that's not right, or you see something that's wrong, you're empowered at least to some degree to try and fix that and find a solution. It wasn't always easy, you're there to mentor the officer that are underneath you, so if you see them struggling with something, they don't know this, they don't know that, you're in a position to say, okay, come here, let me explain this, that, blah, blah, blah to you, so that now next time you encounter this, you'll know better. You'll have an easier time. That's not to say that I knew everything, but what little that I didn't know, I did my best to help the people that worked underneath me, because if they look good, we all look good. If they can do their job, it makes my job easier as well. So and although it was very challenging, again, it's almost like a new job. When you have your 3 weeks of training and your leadership training class, and then you get your assignment, and then that's when I was assigned to the 30th precinct where you live. And you walk in there, and boom, you're off. And the funny story about that is when my first day, I
Yeah.
walked in, I had like a backpack on, whatever. And then there's usually a cop in front of the precinct station house security.
Mm-hmm.
And Officer Spencer, that's I'm gonna put his name out there. He asked me, he goes, "Oh, hi, how are you?" He goes, "Oh, who you here to see? You know, does your mom work here? Does she work upstairs
I
in
know,
roll
because you look
call?"
like a little girl.
Literally, he said, "Does your mom work here? Does she work upstairs in the roll call?" I'm like, no, my mom doesn't work here. I work here, and I'm one of the new sergeants. I'm Sergeant McHenry. And he was like, "Oh, I'm sorry, ma'am. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Oh, come in, come in." And I always
That
thought that
is
was
great.
funny.
So
And I thought
awesome.
that was hilarious because I was
That
like, all
is.
right, at least, at least the face isn't
Yeah,
cracking,
you're not cracking. No, I was gonna tell you, girl, you look like a little girl.
The face is, I mean, the hair's great, but the face is still together.
It sure is. Shoot. What a compliment.
Oh my God. That was just too funny. We still joke about that, whenever I would see him, like, years
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
afterwards,
yeah,
and,
yeah.
and we would have a good laugh about that. So, yeah, so that's when I was a supervisor there. Um, and it was challenging. You had to juggle a lot of things. There are times when I was the only supervisor working that night. There may be someone out in the field, patrol supervisor, and just me, the highest ranking person in the station house. And it was a lot. You're responsible for whatever goes on inside the precinct and the cells with whoever's working in the precinct. You have the supervisors from the borough command that would be like a captain or above. They come, they make a visit every single tour. They come, they check your command log, they ask you questions, what's going on here? Do you have prisoners, this and that? It was a lot. Yeah, it's a lot. Then the phone's ringing off the hook and everything. And so that was a lot to juggle, and then if you're the supervisor out in the field, you're out there answering jobs like the cops that, when you call the police and they show up, you're out there doing that, or you provide support to those that are doing it. But no day was the same as the last day. And although there was some sad stories, people who, unfortunately lost their lives, people who are victims of crimes. Uh, that was, not easy to deal with. But, you do your best to try to restore some sort of justice. And although we're just a small part of that, the very beginning of it, you kind of do your best to soothe your victims, by treating them right, taking their story, memorializing it in the reports, telling the district attorney what happened, and things like that. You do your best. It doesn't always turn out the way you want, but they try hard, and I have to say that, regardless of what people say about the police, about brutality, about the institution in general, because yes, I do understand what people mean when they say it needs to be reformed, and even a little bit when people say it needs to be abolished. My thing is that, well, you're going to replace it with, that's the first thing that you need to address. But as far as reform, I'm all for that. There are a lot of things that could be done a lot better, and a lot of attitudes that need to be changed. But the vast majority of the people that are working, they do their very best, and they're not out there to mistreat people. They're not out there to not serve. You understand what I mean?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and they do their best, and I never surrounded my people who did not try to do their best. The people that I associate with in the department, and still do. I'm a retiree. I still have many friends that are working. They do their job very well. Okay, very, very well. So there are some of us out there. There are some of
that's
us
what I
out
want
there.
to highlight, because yeah, we get this and we know it's like in anything, there's the good and the bad. But we
Mhm,
also,
mhm,
it's nice to, it's so, the media focuses so much on the bad, 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 but we need to highlight the good too, because you are
mhm,
out there. There are good cops out there that really care. And
mhm,
it's not fair that the bad apples are taking away
mhm,
from the good ones. You know what I mean?
mhm, mhm.
That's what
Right,
I think.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And that's 100% correct. And this
And of
is
course, the institution is different because that's not who they are.
right, exactly. The institution of
It's
policing
what,
and just the criminal justice, system in general, it
yeah,
does need to
that's
be
a whole nother
researched.
animal. Word.
Exactly, for real, because there are a lot of things that are just not right,
Mm-hmm.
within, and even some of the written laws need to be rewritten. Some of them need to be
Mm-hmm.
redacted, so removed from the books. Maybe new ones be enacted, and they
Mm-hmm.
just need to be enforced impartially across the board. And that's another big thing. Like, if you're locked up for something, it shouldn't matter what your race is, what your ethnicity is. Doesn't matter what your social background is. If this is what the penalty is, it should be the same across the board for everybody. It shouldn't be if
Exactly.
you're affluent, you get probation, but if you from 183, you get 15 years. That's bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
No, absolutely not. You know, and it's just it's a lot.
It's
It's
a
a lot.
lot.
Like right now, you're asking me these questions. There's just so many
And
things
it's
that are
bringing
going through
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 your
my
head,
head.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah. But
you know.
I mean, overall, you've explained enough of, you don't have to go into details of things, but you explain enough of what your journey is like. And I want to
Hmm.
ask you, before we go to the last segment, I want to ask you, what has this journey brought you, going through what you have within the police department? What has it brought you, um, Shanee, from when you were a
Hmm.
little girl till now?
I guess it gave me a sense of purpose, because when you're young, we all have ideas about what we want to do, when we grow up. I think at one point I wanted to be a dentist, and then think
Mm-hmm.
at one point I wanted to be a pathologist, go figure, so we have all of these ideas
Mm-hmm.
about what it is that we want to do. But that chance conversation with my friend Felix, and may he rest in peace. He passed away, I think, this past
Oh,
December. I found
oh,
out,
may rest in peace.
yeah, and I was saddened by that. But that
My
chance
condolences.
conversation with him, thank you very much. And it, it, me becoming a cadet and then going into police academy, it kind of it gave me a sense of purpose where I guess my role in life, in society, is to, I don't know, give back, is to be of service to people, you know. And that did make me feel good. The times that I did actually feel as if I helped someone,
Mm-hmm.
because I did quite a few things while I was working. One thing I did, I was a youth officer at one point.
Mm.
And while I did not like, and this goes to when you were asking what did I do that I had to do that just didn't feel it sat right with me. And I
Yeah.
would have to like arrest, young people, like teenagers.
Mm.
That always really bothered me. Even
Yeah.
if they committed the violent crimes, I'm like, this child has some sort of
They need help.
issues. They
Yeah.
need help.
You
And
saw
then
the
I hope that,
mental.
yeah, and I hope that the system will provide some sort of relief for that.
Mm.
So that I did not like, but the times that I was able to sit and at least talk to them, because we would bring them to the room and they would have to sit on the bench. They didn't go in the
Mm.
cell; they just sat on the
Okay.
bench, and they had their little handcuff to like a pole
Mm.
that was like on the bench. But they sat in there with me, and I tried to get to know them, and a lot of them I
Oh, that's
did
nice.
end up, knowing them by first and last name, so we would go
Mm-hmm.
to school and try to check on them, and hopefully that they were dealing well. They were uh, dealing well with whatever happened with them.
Okay.
That was a good thing. And another time where I really felt that I guess I kind of made a difference and that I really was of service to the people of the city of New York is when I worked in a unit where we review, this is as a supervisor, we review the complaint reports. Like when you call the cops and let's say, someone stole my wallet, and then, the cops take down the report. Our job is just to read them, to make sure that we read the story, we look at the crime on top, and make sure everything was as it's supposed to be. That nothing was left out of the story, that the crime was high enough. If it's supposed to be a robbery, it didn't say something else, and we took calls from the commands from the different precincts when they had problems trying to classify their complaint reports. And I felt good doing that because that unit, we made sure that people's stories were told the right way.
Nice.
That all of the details, the things that they have said, make sure that they appear in this complaint report. So then when this paperwork goes into the court system, the assistant district attorneys, they have everything that they need in order to prosecute, whomever is responsible for committing these crimes. And so that's nice. I took a lot of pride in doing that, and at a certain point, I used to teach the new supervisors, sergeants, lieutenants, captains, when they would have their initial training, their little 3-week training when they, got, promoted. I would come and represent my unit, and I would give a presentation, and people, they actually liked it. They had tons of questions because they want to do their job correctly. Because the complaint reporting is not as easy as it seems. There's a lot of ins and outs, and you got to know what you're doing. So that particular assignment, I felt good doing that. And I was in that unit for from the end of 2006 until 2017. So it was a long time I spent there. It was a long time I spent there, and I liked it a lot.
Nice.
So
what are you doing now that you're retired?
I'm talking to you.
That's good. So that takes us. That's great.
I'm talking to you.
We're going to go to the next segment, and it's the last segment, and it's called Rapid Fire. And the first question is, what has been your biggest disappointment?
My biggest disappointment? Oh, boy, holy mackerel. Maybe that I didn't continue to on a promotional path at work. I was able to get promoted to sergeant special assignment, which is like a discretionary promotion. Not a lot of people get that, but as far as become like a lieutenant or a captain or an inspector, I didn't continue on that path. I think I kind of waited a little too long to consider it.
Okay.
So career-wise, I think that may have been my greatest disappointment. Now in life, I don't know if I necessarily have one, because even the bad things that have happened have taught me something. They've taught me something, and they've led me to this very day right here. And I wouldn't be the person that I am if I hadn't gone through all of those things. So I don't want to live in like regret or feeling like I missed out on something on a personal level, because I'm right where I need to be. Even if it's uncomfortable, the universe is saying you need to learn from this.
Nice. What single thing would improve the quality of your life and money and materials not an option?
What you mean, girl? More shoes?
No, you don't need more shoes. You don't got closet space.
You're right, man.
You don't.
You're not lying about that. The clothes right behind this computer screen is a pile of socks. So yeah, I do have too many clothes. But let's say,
And it's just one thing. It could even be, I don't know, sleeping more, something like that.
Wow, man. I guess the ability to connect with my relatives more, because we're all spread out. You know, we're all on different states, and
you got to do like a family reunion.
I'm telling you,
pick a spot where, like, I guess is in the middle, if you will.
Yeah, and just not and like both sides of my family too, my mom's side and my dad's side. That would make me happy if I had the ability to bring everyone together and to see, because there's cousins I haven't seen in 30 years. Wow. You know, I haven't seen since like the 80s, and I would love to reconnect with with the people in my family. That would make me very happy. That would make my life better.
Oh, that's beautiful. What do you consider your greatest achievement?
My greatest achievement, I guess, maintaining my sanity throughout all of those years in the police department. I think that I still have it together, so to speak. I didn't, you know, I didn't sell my soul. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And, you know, and if I do have some sort of difficulty with anything, I know how to deal with it. I don't let it get me down, because a lot of people they have struggles, you know, trying to maintain their sanity in this crazy world. But I think I have a good handle on that. So yeah, my greatest achievement is that I came out on the other side, and I'm as whole, you know, as a whole person. And that makes me happy, you know.
And the last one is, what is the most important lesson life has taught you?
Don't ask why me, ask why not me. When bad things happen, we always say, why me? Why does this have to happen to me? And, you know, I've had a lot of like horrendous things happen in, you know, my personal life. But at the end of the day, I had to say, you know what? Why not you? What makes you exempt from these types of things happening? You're a human, you're on this earth like everyone else. So you know what? Flip it, turn it around, learn from it. And you know what? You help somebody else that finds themselves in that same position. You know, you can help pull them out of a hole.